action. To start things off, this is the first review I am doing in 2024, so Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year to you watching this video in January or later down the line in the future. Really appreciate you stopping by, and I've also got to give a big thank you to Vertical Entertainment for sending me an early screener to a movie called He Went That Way, which is based on a true story and starring Zachary, Quinto and Jacob Elordi. But what did I think of this movie? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. Hello everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the channel and thank you so much for taking your own time out to check out this spoiler-free video. Now this is loosely based on a true story. He Went That Way was sent to me by Vertical Entertainment, and I was definitely intrigued with this one because it's got a really good cast, especially two big names at the helm. I haven't seen Zachary Quinto in anything in a little while personally, so it's good to see him back here. And Jacob Elordi is definitely bursting on the scene right now and being in some big movies, including a recent one I watched which is called Saltburn at the time of this video. Now I believe that this was shot at around 2021 when I looked at some behind the scenes photos from He Went That Way film Instagram official page. So going into this movie, I didn't see a single trailer. I didn't know the true story. All I saw was in the synopsis, it was based on a true story. So I pressed play on that bad boy, and after the 1 hour 35 minutes, this is how I've come to my conclusion. Stop what you're doing, because the link down below is to my Patreon. If you're not already a member, membership's £1 per month, cheap as chips. You get access to so much early stuff, videos, competitions, giveaways, and so much more. Get your name in the limelight like these absolute legends. Thank you to all them who helped to support me and Patreon. It really, really means a lot. What are you waiting for? Become a legend yourself, get your name in the limelight, and I'll see you over there at Patreon. Alright, so if you're not too sure on what He Went That Way is all around, or maybe you've never even heard of this and you just clicked on this video because you saw the thumbnail, or, you know, whatever, I appreciate it. But yeah, this basically focuses on Jim, who is an animal trainer, and he is currently driving on the route of Route 66. And as he's driving, he comes across kind of like a hitchhiker who is played by Jacob Elordi, whose character name is Bobby. Now, he picks Bobby up as they kind of start to drive. The two personalities are completely different, and things start to take a little bit of a turn. I don't want to say too much more than that, because if you've not seen the trailer and you want to go into this one kind of just fresh and open and, you know, very little known about it, I don't want to spoil it for that reasons. So, after watching the movie, there's definitely some positives that I really enjoyed. There's elements I think worked okay here, but ultimately I think this is a bit of a messy movie, and also thanks to the Chicago Sun-Times, which a link to that article is down below in the description box, I believe this is really heavily fictionalized, which they've said, and I absolutely agree after I read the true story. Now, if I'm just going to take this movie for what it is, let me go into a couple of positives that I have. Firstly, Zachary Quinto as Jim, I think does a good job. There's moments where he doesn't really get a chance to deviate a lot from his personality, where he's kind of like, you know, by the book in a way. He wants to just do a road trip. He is driving along with his chimpanzee Spanky, and he wants to get to his destination. Now, of course, that is all derailed by Bobby, but for most part, he's kind of a one motion way kind of character, right? There's different things that happen in his journey where there might be some kind of side plots in a way that links into the main story towards the end, and he's kind of mainly focused. There is a couple of times where you see his personality kind of ease up a little bit, or he's a little bit more tension in his performance, whether that is through dialogue or whether that is just emotions alone. And I think conveying all of that, I think Zachary Quinto is definitely the best aspect of He Went That Way. And I think he is the one who is holding this script up the best he can, which is written by Evan M. Weiner. I would just want to say a quick kind of word about the director, Jeff Darlin. Firstly, a rest in peace to Jeff Darlin. He did sadly pass away in March of 2022, I believe before this movie was shown in the Tribeca Film Festival. And I can't say that I've seen any of his previous directorial film work, but I think there's elements here he did in terms of directing, I think was okay. It kind of goes into the positives and negatives, which we're going to continue here, but I just wanted to add that in. So going into the next positive, I think the setting of the 1964 in certain scenes where it's definitely been shot on location, I think works well. It looks kind of in the time frame of the 60s. So I think to capture that essence and, you know, kind of teleport you back into that time zone, at times I think does an okay job. Will I say the full movie does that? No. The accompanying music, I think, does a good job in certain elements. I think there's times that music is definitely just having the vibe of the 60s, capturing the time period of this kind of period piece in a way that we are focusing on. And there were certain songs I thought, wow, I actually kind of like that. I want to find out who the artist is and maybe add them to my Spotify playlist. I was kind of jamming along a little bit to the music. I don't think it fit every single scene. Well, not a couple of songs anyway. Some did, some kind of didn't. But for the most part, I think it worked okay. And the final positive, before I touch on to the negatives and why this ultimately didn't really work for me, is after this movie, I read up on the true life story, and there is certain things in the true story that is touched upon here, whether it is a certain scene, whether it is a certain line of dialogue recounted from Dave Pitts or his son Jonathan. I appreciate the movie throwing in a couple of nods to the actual true story to just give it more of that feel that this is actually based on a true story. However, if we take all that positives and go over to this side with the negatives, Jacob Elordi. Let me touch up on him first. Now, he's a great actor. He's definitely a rising actor, and he's on the scene, and he's in a lot of projects. So it's cool to see him get that kind of recognition because he has got a lot of talent. Do I think he works as the character of Bobby? No, unfortunately not. Do I think he does terrible? No, by no stretch of the imagination. We've seen him do a lot better. I've seen him do a lot more committed performances. But again, after reading up on this true story, the actual photo of the person who this character is inspired on, it doesn't look like him at all. I think they could have done with a different actor doing the role to have the more believability and have the more kind of turmoil that this character has without going into spoilers. I just think it wasn't the best casting choices. Probably the best way I can phrase that. There wasn't really a time in this hour and 35-minute duration where I thought Jacob Elordi was like really serious, was going to really, want you to really hate the character. By all means, you dislike the character for sure, but it's because the script overall also doesn't really give you a lot to work on in what is a really fascinating story. Next kind of nitpick I've got here is I feel like the script is pretty weak because there's times they want to throw in lines of comedy in the structure of this being like quite, well, supposed to be, quite tense, have you on the edge of your seat, be this kind of like thriller, this crime thriller as well, where you really kind of want to root for Jim to be safe and to get out of this kind of tricky situation. The film, I don't think, held those stakes and tension, at least not capturing it enough where I was, kind of like chewing my nails or like, like this, like shaking up to the screen, or like kind of being like, getting that goosebumps kind of feeling for Jim and being like, wow, I really wanted to be okay, rooting for him. I didn't get those emotions that I really wanted from he went that way. There is a lot of that missing, but I also think that is because they've taken liberties compared to the true story. Could this have worked better as a documentary? Yeah, I actually think it probably could have, but it doesn't capture that emotion that's going to really take the audience for a ride and have you along the way and gripped for the full hour and a half, hour 35 minutes. There was times I felt like some scenes here feel rinse and repeat to an extent. There was parts where I felt like, did really need X, Y, and Z scene? No, we could have had a bit more character development, a little bit more about Bobby's character, which some of it is in flashbacks that we see, but some's also just in like one line of dialogue, and that's kind of it. And I think the movie suffers from not having that extra substance to it to really balance it out and to make us ultimately care by the end of the third act. So He Went That Way is in select theatres on January 5th. It's also going to be on digital on demand from January 12th. Are you going to check it out? Are you going to skip it? Let me know down below in the comment section. But for my overall score, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you want early reviews, movie reviews, vlogs, Comic-Con conventions, Back to the Future content, Lego content, and much more stuff. Got a lot of big videos coming in 2024. Thank you for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, and until the next time that I see you guys, I'll be seeing you later.